What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. In this video, we are jumping back into the dawn of DC with Superman issue number 6. Now that Night Terrors has come to a close, we are jumping back into our monthlies. We had last left off with Superman really taking over LexCorp. Obviously, Lex Luthor is the one responsible for all of this, being renamed Supercorp. And while Superman and Lex have kind of been working together, some of Lex Luthor's old enemies have come out of hiding, and they manipulated a situation where Superman wouldn't be able to hear Lex's calls for help. With Lex Luthor in prison, this is where we saw him get shanked. He was bleeding out on the ground, unsure if he would die or if he is going to live. It is time that we find out the fate of Lex Luthor. Now, make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel, make sure that you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up with an ambulance. It is taking Lex Luthor to the hospital, as they put him on a gurney and they rush him into the ER. In that operating room, they prepare to do surgery. They do everything they can to try and keep him alive. But those stab wounds, they are deep. Lex Luthor has lost a lot of blood. This is when Lex Luthor starts to flatline. The doctors are losing him. Lex Luthor is crashing. And then we hop over 2 weeks later. Livewire having a podcast from prison. She is reporting on all the news that is Metropolis. Apparently, Lois Lane decided to help her out, hooking her up with a new gig while she's in prison. The most recent development is the resident bad boy Lex Luthor. He got shanked in prison, and Livewire has to ask the question, the most obvious. If Superman cannot protect the city's worst, how can they expect Superman to protect the best? But Superman right now is in the middle of a chase, as he chases down this van and they open fire from the back. It doesn't take long for Superman to put these guys down. He picks up that van and he lands it right at Metropolis Police. Though Superman, he doesn't stick around. After what happened to Lex, there is a lot on the mind of the Man of Steel. This is what takes us over to the Daily Planet. We pick up with Clark and Lois. Lois, right now, she is struggling. She's the new boss, in charge of Daily Planet, and things have become very overwhelming. At times, she is feeling like a babysitter, like a therapist, and maybe part editor-in-chief. At this point, her job is keeping her from doing her job. And while she struggles with this, Clark has been struggling writing his piece on Lex, saying that he possibly has writer's block. The doctor said that he is still in a coma, so Lex Luthor is still alive. And right now, Clark can't get over it. The monsters Pharma and Graft manipulated Parasite and Silver Banshee, setting it up so Superman couldn't hear Lex. They're lucky that Lex Luthor is even still alive. But before they made their move, Graft had warned about something called Project Chained, that it was a skeleton in Lex Luthor's closet. Not really sure on how to dive into this further, he heads over to Supercorp. And we're seeing that what was once LexCorp, now called Supercorp, it is changing in significant ways. For example, Dr. Shawn, who comes up to Superman when he makes his arrival, there is something that he wants to show him. Before, when Lex Luthor was in charge, he wanted to find a way to weaponize toxic water from hazardous spills. Now that they're Supercorp, he wanted to make something better. He found a way to separate water and dangerous toxins easily and quickly. And so by all appearances, Supercorp is now doing really good work. This is where Superman meets up with Mercy. He is asking Mercy about Project Chained. Now she claims to know nothing about this. There are many things that Lex Luthor kept close to the chest. This happens to be one of them, but there is a resource that Lex Luthor had left behind. This is when he calls LL01, a hologram of Lex Luthor representing kind of his father, Kal-El's father. Now that Superman is in charge, he has access to every single file of LexCorp. Everything that Lex would know, Superman now knows. And he tells it to unlock Project Chained. Project Chained was an early experiment in security by Lex Luthor. It was in collaboration with Carl Draper and Sebastian Stryker. This was intended to house the most dangerous people in the world indefinitely. It would keep them alive, while also restraining them in deep solitary confinement, deprived of all senses and connections to the outside world. Only one version of this prison has ever been completed. It is hidden 400 feet below Stryker's island. silent. When Superman goes on to ask if anybody has ever been housed in this prison, the computer lets him know that there has only been one, and that one is still imprisoned, alive and contained within. But the person that is in there, that is unknown. Not even Mercy knows this information. This was before her time. Now, Superman does find it odd that Mercy conveniently never has the answers that he needs. But Mercy says, I know what you're thinking. But if Lex did lock someone up down there and throw away the key, he must have done it for a good reason. That if you want to talk about knowing Lex Luthor, that is fine. But Mercy and him both know that if he saw someone as a threat, he would kill them, not keep them in a basement. Luthor didn't just build this thing, he buried it and cut off access to it. So whoever is down there, they were not meant to be free. And so as Superman heads off to investigate, knowing Luthor, this could be an innocent person. Even when Superman has used the Phantom Zone in the past, he used it as a last resort, one that he hated. Regardless of how dangerous the person down here might be, Luthor does not get to be judge, jury, and executioner. With Mercy rappelling down, telling Superman that her gut is saying this is a bad idea, but they have taken precautions. Mercy is here with Supercorp. Everybody has been notified. If Supercorp's mission is to help, what better way to prove it? If someone has really been trapped inside of this cage for years on end, Superman is going to free them, as they are able to get access inside of this because of Mercy, with her ability to be able to hack into it. The door opens up and we see an individual chained up, a metal helmet over their head. Extreme solitary. Superman walks over to this person and takes that mask off. The person underneath completely confused. Superman introducing himself, saying that he is here to help him, that they are going to get him to an infirmary, somewhere safe and secure. And then Superman's got some questions. But as Superman does this, he can hear Lex Luthor whisper. He says, Superman, save me. With Mercy asking if Luthor is awake, that is when the Chained, his attitude changes completely. Hearing that Superman and Mercy work for Lex Luthor, his eyes turn red. We see him begin to float. The ground begins to shake as this man begins to throw his chains. Superman using his heat vision, trying to stop it all, trying to let this man know that we are trying to help you. But as that heat vision nearly reaches this man's face, he deflects it. He doesn't move, he doesn't do anything, but the heat vision goes off in an opposite direction before he even touches his face. Now, Superman was hoping that it didn't come to this, but as Superman flies towards the man, there are giant hands made of stone and rock that grab hold of him. He goes on to ask if Superman got his powers from Lex as well. Superman begging him to stop, saying that they don't need to fight, that they can talk about this, but he has no want nor need to help him. We see the chains wrap around Superman, and he tells Superman that he will stay, and the chained man will go. Looking up to the sun, we see him fly to the sky, with Superman calling to Mercy. Mercy coming up and saying that you heard LL01. Mr. Luthor only built this once to hold anyone, to use their powers against them. There is only one person that can free him now, as this man flies up to the sky feeling the sun upon his face. He says that Lex Luthor loves Metropolis, and Metropolis loves Lex Luthor, believing that it must know the pain that he endured, and so he will make Metropolis pay, and then he will deal with Lex Luthor. This is where we see Lex Luthor waking up, screaming, Superman, what have you done? And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Definitely an interesting turn of events. We don't fully understand the capacity of this person's powers, but obviously they got these powers from Lex Luthor. More than likely, this person was created to take on Superman. We know that he can fly. He apparently can manifest and control the elements of at least rock. And he is able to deflect heat vision simply by standing there and looking at it. And so we must wonder, what other powers does he have? What lies underneath the surface of the Chained? And what is so dangerous about this man that Lex Luthor had to hide him away? I'm also very curious on how long he has been down here. Now, Lex Luthor put this guy in here after some very early experiments, but that's not to say that he wouldn't understand or even know who Superman is. But the Chained, he seems to pretend or at least act like he doesn't know who Superman is. And I guess there is maybe a possibility that he doesn't know, but how could you be on this earth for however long he has been alive and never hear the name Superman? This guy, he looks at least to be 30 years old. Even as a young boy, he would have heard of Superman. So it begs the question, was this man ever a boy? Was he created in a lab by Lex Luthor? There are only a handful of explanations on why someone, at least at his age, wouldn't know who Big Blue is. The next issue will be an oversized issue covering all things The Chained. So we're gonna find out exactly who he is, where he comes from, and what kind of powers this man might have. Something tells me that Graft and Pharma planned for Superman to break this guy out. Just yet another ploy for them to take over everything, to make Lex Luthor pay. So let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to get completely caught up on everything that has been going on with Superman, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything going on with Big Blue. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership, much like Patreon having multiple different tiers, from $1 to $50. From loyalty badges to comics every single month. Not only are you helping out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. If you are unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.